Well, good afternoon, LinkedIn Live audience and our webinar audience. We're back again for our next segment of the Lean Sales Talks that we've been having. We have our esteemed guest again, Gerardo Osorio, back again to share with us some of the good tools and tips and tricks that you might want to consider when thinking about your lean sales pipeline and how to lean it out and reduce waste. And so today we're going to talk about how you can potentially unblock your B2B sales pipeline up to potentially 70%, get conversions up to 70%, and reducing waste up to approximately 70% as well. So hopefully today you guys will have a good dose of new information and tools that we can share with you. Gerardo, you can turn into the next slide, please. And so question is for you, audience, why are we here today? And what are some of the challenges that we're facing as we're trying to deliver on our sales pipeline? All right, so that's kind of the crux of the conversation is what are the challenges that we typically face in our sales pipeline and how do we overcome them? All right, so a little bit of background on myself. I've been in the software development industry for over 25 years now in various capacities as even developer at early stages of my career to project manager, and then transformation consultant is what I do most recently, and helping organizations deliver better software and reducing waste along the way. Gerardo, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Charles, and thank you for inviting me for the second time to this second part of the 3 webinars we're giving about Lean Agile Sales. And talking a little bit about me, as in the last webinar, I've been in the technology company as you, Charles, for so many years, 23, around 25 years of experience doing, managing IT B2B sales teams, and especially global expansion projects from America to Europe, Middle East, and so many countries and regions. And from this point, I actually have been working with a lot of sales teams and understanding exactly the challenges. Challenges are very similar in most of the countries in B2B, in the complex sales. And I remember, Charles, that when we actually met around 2018, I believe so, in one of these SAFE seminars, I think, or event in Washington, DC, we were talking about like all these challenges to make sales a little bit more agile, and you were surprised, you were a little surprised about like all these comes and how to apply it in the real deal in teams. And of course there was like a lot of things to solve. One of them is to understand exactly if the Lean Agile principles will actually apply to the B2B sales teams. But on the other hand, it was one of the most controversial things that I heard in most of the directors, VPs and managers. It's like, okay, how can I make this happen in my organization? How can I measure this more accurate? And especially, how can I implement this without so many pains? So in this way, I'm glad to be sharing all my experience. I've been working in this Lean Agile sales for more than 10 years now. And of course, exploring a lot of things, not just from our customers, but also for us, for our companies. And so now we're going to be sharing some of the things in this second webinar about the lean pipelines and discover techniques on how to reduce waste and accelerate conversion. But first of all, remember that we gave this first webinar, I think in June, about Lean Agile Sales Intro and all the principles and what you need to enable you and your team to go from traditional to Lean Agile sales. You can check it in our YouTube link. It's recorded there, and of course it's going to give you a background about what we're talking about. But if you have been following us, probably you're going to be very interesting in this webinar, because we are going to be talking about reducing waste. As I mentioned, Charles, in the last webinar, successful companies have around 30% of rate conversions. That means that they also have 70% of waste. So sales areas are probably one of the areas that need, in these times, in VUCA times, be more optimized and work into reducing waste, because most of us are spending a lot of money in strategies, marketing, digital marketing. And if we don't optimize this, it's going to be cost us a lot of more money. So now in times of closed recessions and in times of when a lot of companies are trying to solve their sales problems and budgets, I think this is going to be very interesting for you. And probably in the next weeks, we're going to be ending with a third webinar, call it Agile Sales Management, when in this one, you're going to learn how to understand the value of your customers. And in the third one, you're going to understand how to manage that value with your sales teams. So this is the things that we're going to be talking in this webinar. And please follow this, because I think you're going to find out some very interesting things. So today takes away B2B customer current challenges, as you already know, not just for COVID-19, probably for the 5-10 years. Some of the challenges of the new customers are especially on how to reduce the risk on buying something that is very important for them, and how this buying process is changing is something relevant to understand, so you can actually understand how to reduce this waste. So after this is we're going to be talking about traditional sales pipelines challenges in a digital environment, how all these traditional sales pipelines are built, or even in the CRMs, how can you manage these templates, and how you can jump to a linear pipeline. Of course, we have a template. Of course, we have a general design, a public design, but that's not important. The important thing is that you actually understand how to unblock all the challenges that you are having right now in your pipeline and reduce the risk and reduce the waste. And of course, if you actually do all these things and you actually go through this process, you need to measure. And the KPIs and the key success factors to unblock qualification stages is so relevant. We're going to be talking about the qualification stage so much and giving you some advices on how you can unblock this thing. And of course, some of the steps on how you can start to doing this. So the outcome, unblock your sales pipeline and measure continuous improvement by prioritize relevant deals. This is quite important for making some progress in our sales teams. So let's go to what are the challenges or the new customers demand in VUCA times. And of course, we have a lot. We're just showing you some of them that in the last probably year, we have been having a lot of interviews with buyers and people and sales VPs, and we're going to show you some of the things. The first thing is, okay, less time to react to market requirements but new customers demand. As you can imagine, in the VUCA times, some of the volatility and some of the complexity of the market has pushed us to a lot of changes, immediate changes. So when we are dealing with customers and urgencies, there's a lot of offer in the market. So when there's a lot of offer of, a lot of promises and everything, our customers get a lot of confusion, and what they don't want is to take into a risky business. And this is something that push all the sales areas to understand exactly what are they going through. And if we don't help them, of course, our proposals and the deals that we're going are going to be very, very complicated. This takes us to another thing. It just takes longer to them to decide. And it does just not take longer. It just takes more people to decide. This is something that Gartner has showed us in the last couple of years, how the buying decision, the buyer decision is taking longer because they have so many options. They have a lot of things to going through, and probably they need to make sure that the providers are understanding really well what they're offering. Too much solutions information, that's something that is already happening, and it's getting to this situation to our buyers. And of course, complex internal challenges between areas. most of us, of all, I think we have been going through understanding and trying to map everything that corporations and customers are dealing with internally. And sometimes we just miss a lot of information, important and relevant information to make the right proposals. And as I always say, in B2B, all of the customers want to reduce risk and increase their right urgency. So these are some of the things that the new customers are demanding, and why is an interesting thing to talk about right now in this reducing waste pipeline process, because as we understand this, we're going to be very focused on exactly what we need to understand of our customers. So in the sales area challenges, there are a lot, of course, of things that are happening right now, difficulties to reach monthly sales goals. I don't want to get too deep into how to build a forecast, but as you all imagine, forecast has been struggling in so many ways, because we used to do the forecast prediction by taking into account historical data. And you know what we sold in the last year, adding 30% for the new forecast and trying just to accomplish that. And of course, this makes into a stressing situation to the salespeople. You know, it's something that it's happening, and some of the sales VPs has telling us, you know, I understand that we need to consider a new way to doing forecasts. Too many leads with unclear visibility of demands. That's something that is also in sales weekly planning meetings. You know, it's like not all the time we understand exactly what our customers demand deeply on the causes. Probably we're just understanding the symptoms. And this is something that if we don't get clear, we get stuck into the negotiation phases. Don't know how to push customers to buy. I'm not really into the push techniques. I don't like it, and I think current customers don't like it anymore. The new customers likes to make some scouting, to decide, to check different alternatives digitally. But these techniques of pushings are not really working out. It's a very low rate of conversion, and the sales teams are really having a lot of complex situations where they're doing push and not really understanding the problem solution. Problems of our customers and where its causes is something very relevant. This takes us to feeling capable to move forward from negotiation to close pipeline stages. We're going to be talking about this in the next slides and how to unblock these bottlenecks. But one of the bottlenecks is how can we feel that we're not making progress? If we're not making progress to close the deals, we get just desperate and we just get in the situations that we're going to be showing. And of course, one of the most relevant things that the sales VPs and directors and managers has been telling us, lack of KPIs to measure qualified stages and understand real customer problems. When we don't get this information, we just get lack of visibility. And talking about forecasts, Charles, I think this is something very, very common. When we build our forecast and just ask our sales teams how they're following up the important and relevant key accounts, and they just start pushing and pushing and pushing desperately. And we just tend to ask right now, is a bad forecast design, or is we are not measuring the right KPIs to qualify, or we are not having enough techniques to negotiate or to build proposal? There's a lot of stuff that is going on. And in this situation, we just get so desperate. So this is one of the reasons that we're talking about, like understanding initially what is the waste on your pipeline. So where is it? How can you measure that? How can you solve these things? And this is something that we're going to be pointing out. So why is not working the design of the forecast in nowadays? Well, there are different causes. Of course, there's going to be strategy causes, tactical causes, operational causes, but basically it's because we have been designing our focus just based on historical sales data. As I mentioned before, probably it's just like, as very aspirational. We all want to get a lot of money. We all want to get a lot of deals, but probably we are not focusing exactly on what to measure exactly in the market. Lack of visibility on real problems or prospects across the pipeline. We don't get the visibility of real problems that they're having, so we don't have the chance to understanding because we are in a hurry to close. Not a problem solution pitch. We have been taking some B2C techniques sales in the last years, and it's not working in B2B anymore. The new customer is requesting and demanding so many different things. Not working closer with marketing and product innovation areas. I myself have been experiences of some providers that have been offering me, a lot of solutions, and they are just feature oriented, but they don't really understand exactly how their products have been innovating, or if they have an innovation plan. They just want to be focused on closing the deals. So depending also on the reputation of the customer instead of the real deals opportunities. This is something that happened to me many years ago. When I was in one of my experiences dealing with a sales team, and I always was very focused on the amount of the deal. I mean, making prioritization and the amount. If the larger the company, the larger the deal, it was like I was just focused on that. And after years of working exactly on how to manage it, I start understanding that was not a really good way of doing things to make progress. So we need to take care of this as some of the causes. Not having a prioritization lead process in early pipeline stages, some of the things that we're going to be talking now. Wrong speech from the wrong target. Sometimes we just don't understand exactly we're talking with the right target or the right profile or the right people in the position. And of course, traditional pipelines decide just based on pushing sales team to close deals no matter how they do it. I remember this mentor that once told me that, okay, just your labor is just to close deals, and I don't really need any more information about what you're doing. Just close the deal. And after so many years on analyzing this is okay, but the problem is that if we don't understand how we can got to the point to close the deal and we don't measure this is not gonna be scalable for us. So we need to point out this, because this is all related to how to build a pipeline. But before going to the point on how to build a pipeline, a linear pipeline, I want to show you some of the traditional pipeline issues that we are having right now. Charles, what do you think about this, Charles? Does that make sense to you?
Yes, definitely. I mean, we see these things every day. So I'm like a case study on this. We've talked about these things so many times as you've helped I4 on some of these topics. So yeah, these things resonate really, really strongly with me.
Great. Yes. I remember we have been working with your company as well on how to make progress in this, and of course is something that when we really understanding on how to focus on eliminating waste, we just take it to the next level. So talking about waste, in Toyota production system, when Lean was created, was very oriented to first identifying which kind of wastes are in Lean. And they are pointed out 7 wastes of Lean that now we're going to show you how to this happening in sales as well. Probably you're thinking, okay, this is also related to production, but you're going to be seeing that it's not just in production systems, it's also in sales, because sales is also process. So inventory is some of the ways. If we have a lot of inventory, problem is money that is stuck there, it's not moving. So this is something we need to take in consideration of one of the ways. Waiting, a lot of time waiting, defects, overproduction, motion transformation, overprocessing, all of these are kind of waste. So the question here is, what kind of waste are we having in our sales processes? Is similar to this? Is not similar to this? Well, I'm going to show you something now, so you can actually think about this as you can actually have it in your sales process. Overstocked leads. Okay, overstocked leads, it's related to having a lot of leads with different types of segments, different time of problems, and you are just not understanding exactly how to follow up. When you are having a lot of leads are not moving, especially in digital markets, every minute, if you are not really taking into account and responding to your leads, it's something that is getting colder. So it's not how much leads you have, it's like how much the quality of leads you have. This is something, of course, related more to the strategy or to the marketing process, or how to work in this lean marketing process to understand how to bring to the sales areas more validated leads. But especially if you are in overstock in different phases of your pipeline, this is one kind of waste. The second one, the timing, not value meetings, waiting for the customer, or waiting for the next meeting, or waiting for sending information, waiting for sending everything that takes the interaction and timing, and you are not really understanding how much time are you spending on this, and it's not relevant, is a waste of time. So no value meetings, it just means that you are not taking to your customer to some meeting just to show a demo, or to show a feature, or to show something that he's not interested. So this is quite important to understand what is valuable for our customer. Unclear proposal, they just take us from meetings to unclear proposals. Well, in my years of experience, when I'm very interested in looking for some solution, and this is something that is actually happening right now, you contact some of the providers, some of the solution providers, and some of the time they just give you those just a pricing list, or just focused on the features or promotions or whatever they are doing, but they don't really understand exactly what you need. So I remember when I first initially understood the minimal viable product, I really like this concept. So what we have bringing to lean sales is the minimal viable proposals. So just bring the customers what they need. Don't oversize proposals. Even in features, or even in money, even in everything that you're thinking is a waste of time. If you're trying to increase the amount of your proposals, do it by understanding exactly what critical problem you need to solve first. One of the main reasons that some of the complex solutions are closed is because we tend to oversize proposals. So this is a waste. This is a kind of a waste. And this is something that some of the customers has already told us, that they just feel that when some of the provider solutions are sending oversized proposals, they just get more confused and they just don't like to take that risk. So this is the fourth one. The fifth one is irrelevant internal follow-up meetings. So this is more related to the sales teams. And as you can imagine, we're talking about these meetings where we are just, making some accountability or something that you just need to make the quota or anything, but they just don't get to the real important discussions about customers' problems and everything. So this is another ways. We're going to be talking about that in the next webinar about agile management, lean agile management sales process. And the next one is long implementations. I think, Charles, you have a lot of experience doing that. It's just not about to close the deal. It's like, okay, after closing the deal, what are you going to do when you are starting the implementation? That's another thing that it's very complicated. So it's just not about closing the deal. It's about to guarantee that the customer is gonna co-create with you the solution, gonna be implied in the solution, and it's not gonna take longer. So this is one of the concepts. And I probably you have a lot of experience in this, Charles, in when we are not understanding the technical requirement exactly, we just get in a lot of problems when in the implementations, right? Irrelevant product information. This means that probably when we are sending some of the information to our customers in the initial stages, or even when we are sending some information for validating, probably it's too much. And this concept goes to a leaner information. So you need to consider all these kinds of waste So you can take it in account, because when you are taking this to your pipeline, you need to make sure that your criteria that you are going to be following in each stage take into account this kind of wasted, eliminate this kind of wasted. So what do you think, Charles? This is something that it happens in the technology environment. I believe so.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, that's actually probably they say, you know, a lot of the like the Gardner reports and whatnot say the biggest waste in software development is you know, irrelevant requirements, that it was a requirement that wasn't, almost like it wasn't needed, or it was overstated, or you know, there's something wrong with the requirements. So ultimately it becomes waste. And so that's one of the biggest waste factors of any process is irrelevant requirements.
Yeah, that's right. And I remember this conversation with software development teams when we were in one of our customers. We were given this lean agile sales implementation, and they took the product and the marketing teams, and the product development were really amazed about like how we are lean sales is considering in these stages that we don't sell anything that the customers don't need and understand, and if they don't have the conditions to implement it. So we are just not taking this to a point to increase your rates of conversion, also to reduce your churn and to reduce the waste on your production system when you're delivering something to your customer. So as you can see, it solves a lot of things not going into the waste process. But first of all, you need to identify it. So this is something that lean sales is bringing to all of us, and I think it's quite important. But let's talk about the pipeline, because I think this is when it comes very interesting to all of us. Challenges with traditional pipelines. Okay, as you can see right now, I'm showing you one of templates of a traditional sales pipeline, and probably you feel that you have already seen this. You know, the prospect, the qualified stage, the meet, demo, the proposal, the negotiation. But one of the things that has been happening probably in most of our customers and in our companies is that we have a lot of leads in our proposal and negotiation, but not so many in the close stages. And when you are actually identifying the bottlenecks here, and 80% of the companies have the problems there in the proposal and negotiation stages, probably it's one of the things that you need to consider as to check out why is this happening. Some of the solutions and alternatives that most of the sales teams are considering is, okay, we need to train our people onto better negotiation techniques. We need to bring some offers. We need to unblock these stages by bringing the customers something that they can actually make them buy. And in our experience, the problem, the root cause problem is not here. Is probably that we are making 80% of the effort in something that is too late. When we understand this, and when we just check that our effort is based in this stage, we need to understand that probably the problem is not there. So what we have been seeing, okay, if you can see here, most of the time our salespeople, our sales teams just move so fast in these early stages, in the prospect, qualified, in the meet and demo. It's like if there's an urgency for the sales team to make the customers to request a proposal or to understand and to want to feel really amazed by the product, but not understanding the real problems. So in this situation, we just get a 20% of effort, and probably this is something that is making our sales pipeline seem very stuck and a lot of problems. So what's the solution for this? What's happening here? When we started working in the traditional pipeline, have 80% of the waste due to seller qualifying leads and understanding phases. But what we have seen is that it's just not to make a better qualifying, is how to measure this qualifying process, and how to take this pipeline to be more specific and to understand with our sales people what they need to do. Okay, so to taking this to a point when we're talking about lean, one of the things that I just want to talk to you, and I know, Charles, that you have a lot of experience because you have been implementing lean and agile for so long, is the confusion about lean and agile being the similar or faster to faster. And this is something that always a lot of customers, when we're in the initial phases, they are asking me, this is faster? This is going to be like shorter lean, shorter pipeline? This is going to be an easier pipeline to implement? It is going to be take me to the to close instead of in 3 months, in 1 month, because our pipeline is shorter? Initially, probably not. So this is a concept that we need to understand. Why lean and agile is not the same as fast. So what do you think, Charles? You have a lot of experience in this.
Well, I mean, the easy analogy that comes to mind when you say something like this is that if, you know, say I'm a person who needs to get in shape and I'm trying to run a 6-minute mile, and my coach comes to the house and he gets me on an exercise program and a diet program, you know, a nutritional program. I'm not going to immediately that day, you know, as soon as he tells me all this information, jump out of bed and run a 6-minute mile. I'm probably, to your point, I'm probably going to be very sore some days. I might not even be able to get out of bed some other days. I might be throwing up some other days. But over time, if I follow the coach's program, eventually I probably will get faster. But it's a process of reducing the waste, reducing the bad habits that I have, the bad, you know, exercise habits that I have. Ultimately, I'm going to get faster, but there's a lot of course correcting and a lot of things that I have to do to kind of clean up my act and get some pieces in place ultimately. But to the point, removing a lot of the things that are not needed, a lot of the things that I'm eating that aren't needed, a lot of the exercises, habits that I didn't have. I'm introducing some new practices. So those are the things that we need to adopt to actually get the productivity that we're trying to achieve. And, you know, like I said, who knows, you might get faster, but maybe your problems just, you know, is large in nature that you need. It's going to take a while. Like, you know, a lot of, you know, in our business, the consulting timelines of closing a sale take sometimes 6 months to a year, and you don't realize it. But there's things that you have to nurture. There's some nurturing phases. There's a lot of other steps that need to go into account. So you can't always just think that you're going to get faster by choosing some process. The last example I was going, you know, that is probably the most popular thing that people usually say when they say you're going to adopt agile and you could get faster. Oh, does that mean that if you got 9 women that you could actually have a baby in 1 month? No, certain things just take certain time periods, and you know you need to deal with that. But you can maybe optimize, or maybe to try and make a higher quality pregnancy, if you will, within that period. But no, there's certain things that just takes a certain period of time, and you try to optimize around your process. And that's what lean and agile is about: how you optimize what you got. So hopefully that shed a little light on that.
Yeah, of course. I just love that examples because it's so true. We just get confused. I know that we all in sales have an urgency to close the deals, but yeah, it's like when you are getting into new exercise, or you need to lower your weight or anything. You just need to understand exactly what you need to get rid first, how to change your mind, and how to get rid first of the bad habits. It's not adding things. Adapting is first to initially to reduce things. That's also one of the things that I've been learning in my personal life. When I feeling some that I'm struggling with some business things, and everything is just you need to be leaner in this way. So I just love your examples. So what do I get with a leaner pipeline? Okay, so focus on the real causes for not closing deals. I remember that one of my personal frustrations so many years ago, it was like with my sales teams, it's like, okay, why are we not closing? Why? And you know, there's a lot of conversations about this. And it's like, okay, you know, the customer, he's on holidays, or I don't know, the customer is just, you know, looking for more alternatives or anything, but not like the real information that probably me as a manager would like to have, that it's more oriented to the problem. Okay. And when we have lack of information, we are in a serious situation. So this linear pipeline will focus on the real causes for not closing deal, on stock accumulation of invalid leads in your pipeline. When you start modifying your pipeline into something that it just get a visual pipeline with less things, but with most important leads, your life just get better. I remember that in some of the in my experience, I've been seeing like pipelines where you know, the sales director told me, you know, look at my CRM, look at my pipeline. There's a lot of stuff, and just like, okay, but how much of those is real? Well, you know, it's 15-20%. So what do you have like in the same pipeline, all these leads? So probably we need to build different pipelines to just classify and nurturing, as you said, Charles, and not just to focus on this as a whole. You know, visibility of real customer requirements and pains. You will also have the visibility of what is going on with your customers. Better sales meeting conversations instead. This is something that, you know, we are in sales, we just hate, you know, like irrelevant sales meeting that just never get to a point, and you just get a lot of pressure and everything. Just go to the point. Better sales meetings, less invalid opportunities to follow up by sales team, more real opportunities driven, more accurate forecast, and sales team enablement to prioritize by self-management tools. And this last one thing is something that we need tools, we need process, we need something to buy. So the linear pipeline, so related to the traditional pipeline, and something that we need to empower in our pipeline and to modify is the qualification stages. As you can see here, probably we didn't tell the qualification, but qualification had another kind of stages that probably we're taking to the next level, our pipeline, that it's like to preparation on how to initially get to a lead qualification prioritization. That is something that not most of the sales teams are doing. It's like to classify exactly in different pipelines. After that, after a contact, after doing approach, how to make a research on your lead, and probably after that going through meetings to make discovery understanding. Some of the things that I personally hate is going to a demo meetings oriented just to technical features and everything. And what I have been speaking with a lot of buyers, it is not relevant, depending on the profile that you're talking, on the people that you're talking. But some of the things that I think it's important is to understand exactly. So we're gonna be understanding, as you can see it right now, in each stage we have something called lean sales canvas model. And this is something for you guys, if you are a sales executive or a key account manager, this is something that is going to help you to understand exactly which kind of things or relevant things or KPIs you need to ask to your customers in each stages. So you can actually qualify, especially what you need to understand to make a linear proposals and a successful proposals, so you can have a better closer, or probably shorter ones. We're not talking about faster. We're talking about the shorter, minimal viable proposals that probably get you to a point so you can actually close. As you can see in below, where we are in the first stages with a lot of assumptions. This is something that Lean Startup talks a lot about it, and also in the continuous innovation by Ash Maurya is always talking about like how we can reduce assumptions. The enemy of the sale process is assumptions. If we don't understand exactly how to reduce assumptions, we're going to take all these ways to the next phases. So consider when you are creating a pipeline to understand which kind of assumptions you want to reduce. And it's the same as which kind of ways do you want to reduce. So this is something important. So as an approach. So what you're seeing right now is a template called the linear pipeline. Our friends from Kanban Zone gave us some access to create it, because one of the things that I like it from Kanban Zone is that you actually can manage all the deals and actually classify it and actually, you know, put the criteria and understand exactly what are the things that you can do. This is not a CRM, by the way, but this is something that you can actually manage all the process of your sales team. One of the things that I think it's different is that in the CRMs are not built to manage, are built to control the financial amounts and everything. So in this way, we have been exploring the use of this tool, Kanban Zone, and I think it's wonderful. And as you can see it here, there's like specific criteria that you can follow. Approach and qualify, the scouting. What do you think the things that you need to consider, the company, industry, marketing using for scouting the buyer persona, company website and core business, all the information you need to put into account. Preparation is the first step to understanding customers before contacting them. When you go to the contact phase, and this is built in different stages, you need to prior daily contacts and get ready for understanding initial customer requests. Validate lead potential. One of the main problems in traditional pipelines is that we don't really understand is this lead that we are talking to, this prospect has the real opportunity. And so many sales teams struggles in these phases. Why? Because you just accelerate this process and we don't understand if we are talking with the right person, if we have understanding the moment, if they're willing to get a better understanding, we can get a better understanding, but especially if the problems or the challenges that they have are critical. We are going to be talking about a lot about criticality, a lot, because this is the main thing that we need to unblock. How critical is the problem our customer have? Your problem can have your customer can have a problem, but it could be aspirational. But if it's not critical, you're not going to close anything for, you know, in early stages. So these two stages are very important, so you can follow it. Then we are going to share to you some links so you can actually use the Kanban Zone solution for 30 days, but and you can find it there, all the criteria, so you can actually start using it. Which are the next stages? Where the next stages after you can contact them is the meeting preparation. As I always say, meeting preparation is everything. And why is so important? Because in this pipeline, what you need to empower is when you get to the point that you need to do this discovery and the exploration phases, you can actually need to map and co-create and co-understand with your customer what is a real problem. And in the meeting preparation phase, you need to confirm date, virtual platform link or places, customer teams to assist, you know, everything that we need to prepare. I know that probably, you know, in the sales team, in the sales areas, we are not so used to accomplish so specific steps. But believe me, this is something very, very important when you are dealing with complex sales, to understand and prepare, you know, set exactly one of the most important things in the discovery and the exploration. We have been exploring probably in the last 6 years, using game storming, using innovation games, using a lot of canvases to co-create with our customers and understanding in these meetings and exploration phases. So when you are in the meeting preparation phase, you need to understand what you need to discover. It's not just to co-create things. It's what do I want to discover in this customer? Do I want to understand if they have been using another solution before? How long do they take in the last experience in implementations? I mean, a lot of things you need to consider. So when you get to the discovery and exploration phase, you can actually have the experience with your customer, a co-creation experience that brings you a lot of information. The discovery and exploration phase is the most important stage in all the pipeline. And if you can see it, we are pointing out this because we consider that if you can assist make an assessment as deep as possible, you actually can co-create your solution with your customer. And when I'm talking about co-creating the solution, it's like consider your customer's opinion about the conditions they have to implement and to have the fastest result as possible to their problem. If we can do this process, that of course, in other webinars, we can be talking about these techniques. Actually, you can guarantee one thing. If you can follow up and you can make progress with this lead, or if you can actually understand that there is no point to follow up and probably take this lead to another pipeline so for nurturing or for doing other things, but not feeling that you are working so many hours for nothing. So of course, after that, in some situation, it could be that tech requirements are deeply, so you can, bring your pre-sales and co-create and understand more specific requirements. But this is just in case that you are selling some complex solution, are probably not a problem. But these stages, Charles, is one of the principal things. I know you have been through this experience of co-creating and understand the stages, but this is the stage when it's all your leads are faced to check if you are wasting your time or not. Qualifying with defining criteria will give you visibility on customer prospects by project viability. This avoid to take on valid leads to proposal and negotiation phases. So the last steps of the lead and pipeline: proposal co-creation, as I already mentioned. If you can understand the problems of your customer, you can take them to co-create a proposal with a minimal viable proposal. So you can give them a product entry-level product. You can give them something you can get for new customers. If it's an existing customers, it works already as well, because you already know them. Probably you know more about their organization or their challenges and everything, but you need to point that out. And then the negotiation phase. And the negotiation phase in these stages is not so relevant when you understand everything that are their problems. So you can actually manage this. But for doing this, we need to measure. And to measure this is something that we have been exploring in the last years, is to bring something called weighted shortage shop first. And in this point, I want to Charles to share what is this concept and why we have brought this from software development to sales, and how have been helping a lot of software development teams to prioritize their job.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Gerardo. So yeah, the weighted shortest job first acronym stands, or WSJF is kind of what they say for short. It was popularized by a framework, an agile framework called the Scaled Agile Framework. But that concept actually was built off of another concept called essentially prioritizing based on cost of delay. And that's at the root of weighted shortest job first. So if you think about it, how much is it costing us to delay this item versus this item? So if it's a bigger cost of delay on this item, I want to make sure I focus on that item first, because it's losing me, the most value. I want to, another way of looking at it is kind of like, I want to go after the lowest hanging fruit items that, relatively speaking, based on the value of something and the effort to get it done, let's focus on those low hanging fruit items to try to knock those things out. So the whole goal of prioritizing based on cost of delay and weighted shortest job first is making sure we're spending our efforts in the most optimized way to drive the most value for our company. So, so long story short is you're doing an assessment in terms of how much value is this thing versus how much effort do I have to put into it? Because something could be very valuable and far outweigh the value of something else, but it might take you like heads down, not doing anything else for the next month. And you might lose out on like knocking out 5 deals that could actually ultimately achieve more value than just that one thing. So you have to weigh your pros and cons about how you focus your efforts. And the last thing I want to say about the weighted shortest job first areas here that you've got called out here: user business value, time criticality, and risk reward opportunity enablement is it's a kind of a full circle way of looking at what makes something valuable. Obviously, something from an end user, from our customer, from ourselves as a company, you know, right on the face of it, it's a very shiny, very fancy looking product that we want to sell or service that we want to sell. I mean, it's the, you know, it's the best valuable service out there or product out there. But the time criticality of it might not be so big. You know, they may want it next year or, you know, tomorrow, or they can want it tomorrow. They need that proposal in tomorrow because their budget cycle is ending tomorrow. So time criticality might be high as well on this thing. And then also too, it might actually enable future opportunities for us. So the opportunity enablement piece of it might go up as well. So again, different ways of leveraging this weighted shortage job first model, because it can give you a full circle way of looking at what makes something valuable. And I'll even say, like, even knowledge is valuable in some cases as well. What you learn from a process or what you learn from a customer going through the proposal process might give you more insight onto what other opportunities are there as well. So using weighted shortage job first, and then the cost of the opportunity, how much is it going to cost us? Again, is our effort that we need to put into it. If we need to put a 20-man team in place to run to create a proposal, you got to think about that. That's going to take all 20 people off something else that they're doing, and then that will bring it down in the overall ranking of weighted shortage job first, because its overall score, you could see this is you have a numerator and a denominator. It's basically math there that's happening. Return on investment that you're putting into it. It needs to have a sufficient enough high return on investment in terms of the value it provides us based on the investment that we put into it. So overall, a good way of prioritizing and ranking something that's valuable to your organization, and you can use it for many different purposes. And that's why it's a very a useful tool that you can bring from the software development industry to bring into this sales process.
Great. I love how you explain it, because it's crucial to understand how much effort are we taking on each opportunity. And probably one of the most relevant things is that if we are really understanding if it's valuable for our customers and if it's critical. That just related to the kind of effort we need to do. It's not that we are, I don't want to be confused about this, but it's not that you don't follow up all your leads, but you need to understand exactly how much effort and what is the problem and what is the criticality, so you can actually give them something as fast and minimum possible. So when we have been taking this to the sales, it has turned an amazing tool to use, because if we have been speaking about how to empower and how to focus on your qualification process, of course, you need to adapt sales pipeline to criteria to reinforce these KPIs in qualification and customer understanding stages. So how do I make sure I know these KPIs with my sales teams? Okay, remember the first thing, how to come from a traditional pipeline to a linear pipeline, how to build the criteria, and then how to build them and measure this. 4 things you need to consider. Of course, we can share you this the Excel sheet with the weighted shortage first, but 4 things you need to consider for your sales team to start understanding business value. To ask your customer context, problem, alternative, solution, and outcomes. Exactly what is there, how they consider that it's valuable to your solution. And the valuable solution, it's related to the problems, to the alternatives, to the causes. The second one, the criticality. This is something for me, probably when it just turns something very different to the rest of the stages. Most of the people are talking about like techniques to empower your solution, your features, the comparison with your competitors and everything. Believe me, if you understand criticality, this is something very, very, very easy to understand how to make progress with your this. Moment, triggers, urgency, and what's at stake for your customer. If you ask these kind of things and you then relate it with Fibonacci and then going through the weighted shortage first, that we can actually explain this later, you are going to have a very clear visibility of the opportunities. Opportunities. How many opportunities are with this kind of leads? Solution co-creation, tech requirements, other areas, challenges, options, and implementation readiness. This is also very important when you're talking about B2B complex projects. And the last one, income, and quite important, it's the budget size and fit, the return of investment, the payment condition, among other things. Probably for most of the people, this is the most important. For me, probably is a mix of the four things that I will, of course, will invite you to use. We have created this lean sales canvas model, and we also can share to you when you can actually map and start writing and co-creating with your customer exactly what are their problems, their outcome, their problem, their moments, their readiness, and everything. So you can have a template so you can work within also the linear pipeline, but also to understand that you can actually use it in each stages for what? For understanding the four things that we have already mentioned. Okay, the business value, the criticality, the opportunity, and the incomes. So if you can actually fill everything in your lean sales canvas, you can give a lot of information from your customers to make progress. And this is how it looks. This is how it looks when we are talking about, okay, is this gonna take me to a better understanding on prioritization? Well, in my experience, this is something that has taken so many sales teams to have a better understanding what they need to focus in a weekly basis. So you can get rid of these sales meetings where just a lot of excuses. No, it's mapping, okay, the value of the business value of this account, the time criticality, the new opportunities, the income, the cost of opportunity, how much effort are you taking, and of course, understanding how to prior. Okay, if we're going to be focused on the customer X, Y, and Z, this is the things that we need to work in this week. And the last thing, how can we know that we are measuring in the right values of business value or the time criticality, each one? Okay, this is one of the most important things you need to understand. If you are not sure about the business value, you need to come back to your customer and do specific questions to specify that you are measuring the right things. So this is quite relevant to understand, to take this to a more real forecast. If you go this, if you take this table and you understand exactly how to make it, believe me, you are gonna take your sales to the next level, reducing waste, understanding, reducing your effort, reducing your struggling, and of course, having more visibility on how to qualify and make the KPIs more relevant. So basically, I know that we have been short time right now, but basically I want to close with, how do I start reducing waste in my sales process? The first one, identify where is the bottleneck in your pipeline. I think we have already talked about it. Adapt your pipeline to empower understanding instead of closing. Closing deals is a consequence of a good qualification and understanding phase. The third one, define how you want to measure your interaction with customers. Financial KPI surveys are based, but won't take you to a continuous improvement. The thing that is going to take you to continuous improvement is to understand exactly where are the problems of your customers. Use co-creation tools and canvases to interact with customers. This will help you to make customer problem solutions, critical situation, and will be a lot easier for you to prioritize. And the fifth one, adapt your bonuses and sales commissions to long-term, and less churn by promoting close collaboration between sales teams and customers. So this would be my 5 advices to start reducing your waste in sales process. I know there's a lot of information, but of course, I know we have just a couple of minutes of questions and answers. And before leaving, I don't know, Charles, do you have any comments about it? Any questions about it?
Well, yeah, let's see if are there any questions or comments that came in through our, from those that attended in the webinar. Let's check our messages here. Just doing a quick little check over. Overall, I guess, Gerardo, one question while I'm checking on this is that I know we don't like to necessarily recommend or sponsor any tools or anything like that, but are there any tools that do this well in your opinion, versus other tools that can actually measure this and track this pipeline?
Yeah, sure. I'll just share the Kanban zone tool where you can actually start using the linear pipeline public template. I think it's gonna be easier for you to implement it. And the other thing is the using the weighted chart at your first Excel template that we have, that we're going to be sharing, of course. And the third thing that I just almost forgot is that we are going to be doing a 6-week lean sales program in September, probably mid-September, so you can actually understand on how to implement all these tools. Of course, there's also Miro, that when you can use it for the co-creation process. You can use, of course, the lean sales canvas model that we have been creating. There's a lot of things that you can actually take in account on this lean sales process.
All right, great. Yeah, there's no questions, and we're right at time, Gerardo. Can you go to the next slide, and I think we can kind of transition here. And as you mentioned, there's a program, a cohort that's coming up that if you're interested in attending and kind of walking through your process and walking through, kind of step by step and getting your environment set up to measure and manage a sales process in this way, definitely reach out to Gerardo or myself, and we can get you, hooked into that cohort, that program that's coming up. Otherwise, those that didn't get a chance to attend, you can tell your colleagues this will be out on video, and this will be shared out to those that were interested. So it will be put up in our webinar area at the i4group.com. You can check our webinars up. The latest webinars up there, and this will be posted up there pretty soon, and it will be pushed out on to the various social platforms as well. And we look forward to seeing you guys again next time. Thanks, Gerardo, for your time today, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. See you. Bye.
Have a great day.